Hello everyone, it is Jazz here. Today I'm doing a little video about the books that I really want to read before the year of 2017 ends. So some of you might know that I usually make a to-be-read list for the whole entire year of books I would love to get to. If you would like to hear more about the books that I put on that list for this year, I will leave you the link to my 2017 to be read video in the description, and I will also in the description leave the link to the shelf on Goodreads that I made specifically for my TBR for the year of 2017. Now my usual goal is to make it through half of those books. I think if I read 5 more books I will reach the halfway point. However, I'm feeling really in the mood to challenge myself this year, and thus I feel like I want to try to surpass the halfway point because it's getting to be around the point where there's only about 4 months left in the year of 2017. I feel like the best way to do this is to make a priority list, and what I have done today is made a list of books that if I don't read all of them or most of them this year, I'm probably going to turn into a sad face emoji. I'm going to list off these books today. Hopefully all of you can keep me accountable and make sure I don't deviate from these too much during the next 4 months. So I usually only pick one Shakespeare play to read each year that I've never read before, but I did pick 2 this year because I wasn't sure which one I would want to pick up. One was Macbeth and the other one was Othello. So I've decided for sure to prioritize reading Othello just because I am a little bit less familiar with Othello. I have at least seen a production of Macbeth and know some of the dialogue of that play and some of the general vibe of that play, but I've only really read summaries of Othello. I haven't seen a movie or a production or any of that stuff, and so thus I would like to get to know this play a little better. I've not done so great at reading nonfiction books this year. I did read one nonfiction book, but it was not from this year's TBR. It was from last year's. So I need to get to reading at least one book on this year's nonfiction choice list, and I decided to go with In True Blood by Truman Capote. It is also a modern classic nonfiction, so I feel like I really do need to read it within my lifetime, and why not this year? Next, I have a reread and a companion to that book that I want to reread. So the book that I would really love to reread before the year ends is To Kill a Mockingbird. So as a companion to that, I think that it is doable that I could also complete Go Set a Watchman. Do really want to see how these compare before the end of the year, so I'm hoping to read this one for the first time. I did notice how actually really lovely these 2 book covers go together. Never noticed that before because I don't usually put them on the same shelf, but that's pretty dang cool. I only officially have 2 standalone books left on my 2017 list. I had more, but one I discovered was part of a series, and I'm kind of counting Go Set a Watchman as a companion to Kill a Mockingbird, so thus I only have 2, and why not try to just finish those 2 books left on there, right? So one of them is Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden, and the other one is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Then I'm getting one more Neil Gaiman book read because I can never get enough of those, and also I'm getting at least one more historical fiction type book in. So for some reason at the beginning of the year I thought that I was gonna start all these series books, and I realized that I needed to just pick a few series out of those because it's ridiculous to try to read a ton of series in 1 year if you want to complete the ones you've already started. But out of the books that are new to me in a series, I have decided to pick one that I think I can at least read the first book of, and I'm going to try to at least read the first book in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. So I think in this bind up, which includes I think all 5 of the books in this series, that only 140 pages of this is the very first book, so that is definitely a doable thing, and I think that I can do that. Then I have the second book in a duology to complete, and that is The Serpent of Venice by Christopher Moore. So I did read the first book full, and all I have left is this one. It is sort of a parody of Shakespeare as well as other poetic works and other kind of authors, but mostly Shakespeare. And I think this one is going to include quite a bit that has to do with Othello, so that's why I would really like to read Othello before starting this one. But I do really need to read this book because I did borrow it from a friend, and I've managed to return all the books that I've borrowed of hers to her except for this one, so I need to get this one back to her as soon as I can because I've had this for like a year. Also in the series vein, I do still need to complete the last 3 books of the Anne of Green Gables series before the end of the year, and I will be so super sad if I do not read all of these books this year because it's just like the year of Anne to me in my mind. So I still do need to reread Anne of Ingleside, and then I have Rainbow Valley and Rilla of Ingleside left to read, and these will be first time reads for me because I never seem to get around to these last 2. What I'm planning to do with these, because I want to make sure for sure that I finish them before the end of the year, I think I'm going to take a week in September and drop everything and just binge read these 3 in a row because they're not super long. So I think I could maybe do this in a week or 2 depending on how I'm feeling with reading, and just get these all done, and then I can say I have finally finished all of the Anne of Green Gables series and be the true Anne fan that I want to be. So that is my 4-month crunch time to be read for the rest of this year. There are still a lot of books on this list. Most of these on this one are shorter, so I think if I do some weeks where I just really binge a lot of the shorter ones together, that it might be a doable feat. We shall see what happens. Let me know in the comments some of the books that you guys would really love to get to this year, because I would just be curious to know what some of them are. And if you do right now have any suggestions of books that I should read for next year, for when I make my list next year, definitely leave those recommendations as well. That is it for today. I will see you all on Thursday. Thank you for watching, and bye, my fabulous peeps.